I didn't believe in Wendigos until one of them learned my name and followed me to where I was sleeping. The stories you're about to hear come from two different people in two different parts of the country. They had never met, they weren't looking for trouble, and they didn't know what a Wendigo really was until it was already too close. These are their stories. I met a Wendigo on the loneliest road in America. I learned something the hard way as a truck driver. The road doesn't just watch you. Sometimes, something on it follows you. I've been an over-the-road truck driver for a few months now. When I first took this job, I thought it would be exciting. Travel the country, see the sights, come home with stories. I was right. I do have stories. I just don't tell them to anyone I know because I'm not sure they'd believe me. My name is Jordan. I'm 22 years old. I drive solo for a large trucking company I won't name for obvious reasons. Ever since I finished training and got my own truck, I've seen some weird things. But nothing compares to what happened one night on a stretch of highway in Nevada known as the loneliest road in America. It was close to midnight. I still had about an hour before the nearest truck stop. The desert was pitch black, cold for a summer night, and the only thing keeping me awake was blasting freezing air straight into my face. I know that sounds irresponsible, but if you've never driven an 80,000-pound truck for 12 hours straight, you don't really understand. That's when something ran across the road. It came out of nowhere, white, fast. Before I could even hit the brakes, it disappeared into the brush on the other side of the highway. I barely got a look at it. It looked like a large dog, but it moved wrong. Too fast, too smooth. I told myself it was just an animal and kept driving. Less than a minute later, my truck lurched violently to the left. I gripped the wheel, corrected, and eased onto the brakes, my heart slamming in my chest. Jackknifing an 18-wheeler isn't hard if you panic. Once I regained control, I pulled over at the first safe spot I could find. I stepped out of the cab and walked around the trailer. That's when I saw it. A massive dent in the side of my trailer, 5 feet wide, 5 feet tall. No scrape marks, no paint transfer, just crushed metal. I stood there staring at it, trying to make sense of what could have hit me, when I heard footsteps behind me. Dirt crunching, heavy. I turned around, and my blood went cold. It stood maybe 50 feet away from me, tall, white, broad-shouldered. At first glance, it looked like a dog, but that word doesn't do it justice. It stood on 2 short, powerful legs. Its arms were long, far too long, hanging past its knees. Its chest rose and fell like it had been running for miles. Its head was shaped like a wolf's, but stretched, wrong. Rows of sharp teeth bared in a snarl, saliva dripping onto the dirt. Its eyes were completely black, not dark, empty, and they were locked on me. I don't know why, but the only thing I could think to say was, "You're one ugly It snarled. Then, it turned, dropped down onto all fours, and walked away into the darkness. I didn't move for a long time. When I was sure it was gone, I sprinted back into my truck, locked the doors, and pulled onto the highway. I drove like my life depended on it, because it felt like it did. I made it to a small roadside motel about 30 minutes later. I parked under a light, backed my trailer up tight, and went inside. I didn't sleep much. Every sound made my heart race. But eventually, exhaustion won. I woke up to silence. Not desert silence, wrong silence. No wind, no distant traffic. Then I felt it. That feeling you get when someone is watching you. I turned my head. And there it was, standing outside my motel window. It was closer now, taller. Its head nearly touched the second-story balcony railing. Its breath fogged the glass. And it was smiling. Not with joy, with hunger. Its black eyes stared straight through me. Then, Jordan. I hadn't told anyone my name. I grabbed the only thing I could think of, my truck's air horn remote. I yanked open the curtain, slammed the button. The sound exploded into the night. The creature recoiled, shrieking in pain, clutching its head. Lights snapped on across the motel. Doors opened. People shouted. And just like that, it dropped down onto all fours and vanished into the darkness. I checked out at sunrise. I didn't report anything. I didn't ask questions. I just drove. I still drive, but I don't stop in the desert anymore. Because the road isn't empty. And some things out there never forget a face. I encountered a Wendigo while hiking, and it took my dog. I don't really know how to start this, and honestly, I don't even know if I should be telling it. I already know most people won't believe me, and that's fine, because even now, I still don't fully understand what happened. But this isn't just a scary story to me. It eats at me every single day. I love hiking. Always have. I'd go out into the mountains with my German shepherd, Kyrie. She was 3 years old, strong, smart, and fearless. We'd hike early mornings, far from crowds, deep into places where you could forget people even existed. I live near the Utah mountains, so trails are everywhere, but I wanted something new, something quiet. So one night, I was scrolling through all trails. Most hikes had hundreds of reviews, photos, warnings, tips, but one trail sat at the very bottom of the list. One review. Just one. It said, "Good." That was it. I should have listened to the feeling I got right then, but I didn't. The next morning, Kyrie and I drove out before sunrise. The road leading to the trail was wrong, narrow, hidden, barely wide enough for one car. No signs, no other vehicles. I never saw another person. When I reached the parking lot, if you could even call it that, there was room for maybe 3 cars. I parked facing the road, just in case. I leashed Kyrie, checked my gear, knife, first aid, food, and then we stepped onto the trail. For the first half hour, it was beautiful. Tall trees, morning light filtering through branches, birds calling somewhere far away. I relaxed. Eventually, I let Kyrie off her leash. She always walked ahead of me, always alert, always calm. Until she wasn't. We reached a meadow, wide, open, perfectly still. On the far side, I could hear a river and a waterfall. And then, the smell hit me. Rot. Thick, burning. It filled my nose so fast my eyes watered. I lifted my shirt over my face, gagging, and followed Kyrie's gaze. In the middle of the meadow stood a deer. A massive one. Its antlers stretched unnaturally wide, like twisted branches clawing at the sky. It was beautiful and horribly wrong. Kyrie froze. Her hackles rose. She whimpered. Then the deer turned its head and looked directly at us. I'm Native American. I grew up with stories. Stories meant to scare kids into behaving. Stories meant to stay as stories. But in that moment, I knew. Not logically, not rationally. I just knew. It wasn't a deer. The thing stood up. Straightened onto its hind legs, it was impossibly tall, too tall. And as it turned toward me, I heard a voice. Not with my ears, but inside my head. I am of this land. Then it ran. I screamed, grabbed for Kyrie, and ran. Branches snapped behind me like gunshots. Trees cracked. Something huge was tearing through the forest. Fast, too fast. I could hear it breathing. I could hear it getting closer. Then, silence. I looked back. It was gone. But Kyrie was gone too. I called her name. Then the ground disappeared beneath my feet. I fell, hit my head, blood warm on my face. And that's when I heard her cry. She slammed into me. My dog, covered in blood, her neck torn open. She was whimpering, barely breathing, and then the forest screamed back. I picked her up. I don't know how. She weighed 85 pounds. I just ran, toward the waterfall, toward the noise, toward anything that wasn't it. When I reached the rocks, the creature landed behind me. I turned. Its eyes were empty, black, or maybe hollow. I threw Kyrie's pack at it, the raw meat spilling out. It hesitated, then crawled forward. Not like a deer, like something broken, wrong. A monster. The waterfall crashed over me as I pressed Kyrie against the stone. The thing stood tall again, reached out, and then another scream echoed through the forest. Not human, not animal. The creature snapped its head toward it, paused, then spoke again, inside my head. I am of this land. And it left. I made it out. Kyrie survived, barely. They said it was a bear. They pulled a 4-inch tooth from her neck. They said it was strange. The trail? It doesn't exist anymore. I've never found it again. I don't hike now, and I never let Kyrie out of my sight. Because the woods aren't empty, and some things out there don't care if you believe in them or not.